Hi, my name is Pam. Welcome to my podcast, Circadian Reboot. The goal of this podcast is to help you reset your circadian rhythms so that you can sleep better at night and increase your chances of getting better. In order to do this, I'm going to have a sidekick. Her name is Zee. And what this is it's like an intergenerational podcast. I'm the 60 plus year old and she's the 20 plus year old who is just starting out in her healing journey. And I want to be able to help her make this journey as quick as possible for the least amount of money possible. And we want to be able to translate that to you, the listener. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about is based on the work of Dr. Jack Kruse. Now, I don't want to get into a lot of science during this podcast. So if you want to learn the science of Dr. Jack Kruse's work, I would highly recommend that you go to his website, jackkruse.com, or listen to any of his podcasts that are all over the internet, YouTube, Spotify, etc. But the crux of his work basically says that we should be getting up in the morning, looking at the sunrise, sky gazing during the day, and watching the sunset at night. Now, you don't have to look directly at the sun. You can see the sun through clouds, you can see the sun through trees, but the principle is that you sky gaze as much as you can. At night, when the sun is setting, you want to start dimming your lights. You want to start wearing your blue light blocking glasses, and you want to be really, really careful about how much blue light that you're being exposed to. Other things that he teaches are about the importance of doing cold thermogenesis or cold therapy, which is basically getting into, say, for example, cold baths or allowing yourself to get cold here and there throughout the day. There's many different ways, different theories on how to do this, but I'll let you learn more as we do more podcasts. If you're already familiar with the work of Dr. Jack Kruse, you're probably already doing cold therapy. So at any rate, we want to be able to reach out to the listener and for listeners to collaborate so that we can all learn from each other. And I want to, as somebody who's in my 60s, I want to be able to help you sift through a lot of what I call the candy store that's out there. What works, what doesn't work in order to help the body heal. And I did a gamut of things to get well. It's not just about the work of Dr. Kruse, by the way. I did a gamut of things to get well. And I want to let you know some of the things that are out there that are actually probably going to backfire on you. So let's try and distill everything down to the lowest common denominator, keep things as uncomplicated as possible, but understand the importance of your circadian rhythm and how critical it is to help you get well. So with all that said, I'm going to kick off with my initial podcast here with Zee, and you'll be able to meet Zee. She's a lovely young woman in her 20s who had a huge struggle with her health, and now at the age of 24 has started to turn her health around. And I'm really proud of her, and I want her to share her stories with you as well. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Pam.
My name is Zee.
And welcome to our podcast, Circadian Reboot. For our first few episodes, we're just going to tell you about our experiences with our own health journeys and how Zee and I met and how I've taken her under my wing to teach her how to get well as a young 20-something-year-old. And I'm into my 60s now, into the latter years of my life. And I want to share with her what I had to do at her young age in order to basically save my life. I was deathly ill in my early 20s, which is Zee's age right now. And when I first met her, she was really sick, and I could see how sick she was. And I thought I would try and share with her some of my secrets to see if she would be interested in getting herself well. We haven't known each other for very long, but I can tell you right now, she has done really well. She's so much healthier now than when I first met her in June. And this is 2023, by the way. And she's turned her life around. She's turned her health around. And there's a few secrets that we want to share with you guys in terms of how you can turn your own health around at a young age, whether you're in your teens or your 20s or 30s, or if you're in your 60s and you want to slow down the aging process so you can age gracefully. So, Zee, what would you like to share with our audience?
I would like to say I'm very pleased to meet Pam at a really vital point in my life. I don't think I would have grasped or taken in so much of her knowledge had I not gone through all the illness battle I faced. Last year, actually around this time, I was just released from the psychiatric unit at
Well, at the
yeah.
local hospital.
Yeah, at the local hospital, yes. And I was there for about a month. I was dealing with depression and suicide. I was diagnosed with a bunch of different things each time I got admitted. And basically, I left sicker than I entered. And really, I was really hopeless. And I noticed that after 4 years of trying so many different types of medication, different antidepressants, it wasn't working. And I knew I needed a solution and I didn't know what. And by God's grace, I met Pam in my life, and she's a health consultant. She's been doing this since the 1980s, and her story really resonated with mine when she got sick around my age, but that's due to a different story that I'll let you share. And yeah, I can say that having met with Pam, I have weaned off of my medication. I started getting better. I started taking health supplements, and then I gradually changed. And I can say that incorporating what we've learned about our circadian health these past couple months, I can say that I've been able to get off my medication. I've adapted a healthier lifestyle and focusing on, nutrition as well, eating a protein-rich diet, and just keeping our routine. And I'd love to share it with our generation. And a lot of people are lost. They know that the answer isn't in their pharmaceutical industry, let's say.
Right.
And their doctors are making them sicker than they're healthier.
Right. Yeah, this healthcare system is unsustainable as it is. And I feel bad for your Generation Z because I look at young people today and they have no energy to get out of bed in the morning. They can't sleep properly at all. They don't wake up feeling refreshed like they should. What happened with me was really interesting because I remember waking up refreshed, excited about the day. I remember having creativity. I remember whatever schooling I was doing, whether it was high school or university or beyond, that I was excited to learn. There was always a fever to learn more. And so when I see people today who are sick, they don't have that same ambition. They just really are flatliners. I call them zombies. And so I was lucky that I remembered having that zest for life, that flair to learn something. But when you're really, really sick and your nervous system is shunted, it's really hard to be excited about anything in life. And so I see that with young people today. And because they were possibly born sick, they don't even know what that zest feels like. They're just flatlining. They are just emotionless. And so if you're in that camp where you have a memory of feeling energy, feeling, excited about life, consider yourself in a sense lucky that you have that memory because you're going to fight harder to get well. But if you were born sick and you think that what you feel right now is normal, that sort of apathy, that, feeling listless, that's not normal, right? What is normal is for us to wake up in the morning excited about the day, excited to learn things. We want to help each other as a community. We want to go out of our way to help our neighbors, so to speak. But when people are sitting inside all day long, looking at screens and playing video games, whatever they're doing, there's no sense of community. There's no sense of putting any energy out towards your neighbors. So we have to return to those values. But the only way we're going to do that is if we have energy. And in order to get that energy back, we have to rely on Mother Nature and this circadian rhythm that is so central to our health. And there's a lot of great people out there on the internet today in podcasts talking about circadian health. Our angle is maybe a little bit different in that we're not here to bombard you with the science behind why you need to reboot your circadian rhythms. The science you can go and learn from people like Jack Kruse or at Carrie B Wellness or many, many other people that are talking about this right now. We're here to offer education and support in terms of the routine that you need in order to reset your circadian rhythms. And that's a challenge. I mean, the science is complicated, but applying that knowledge is going to require, for some people anyway, it's going to require some discipline and some support. And so Z and I thought we would start a support group where we can all get together and chat about our experiences, what worked for you, what didn't work for you, what makes it easier for you to do these circadian protocols. So Z, how would you, in a really simple package, what would it look like?
So the package, if I can say it in a couple sentences, it would be about focusing on your sleep. When you wake up, the first thing you should do is look at the sun and not grab your phone and look at the blue light that's emitting. And our eyes, like Jack Kruse talks about, is more than just for vision. It's also a signal for our eyes.
The eyes are basically the cue to get your hormones and your neurotransmitters going in a nutshell,
Exactly. So looking at the sun, waking up and eating a good protein-rich meal.
Eating, yeah, basically what you would call a nutrient-dense breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I'll have an omelet.
Yeah.
And then I'll put some cheese in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll cook it in butter.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then I'll go for my walk outside and do some grounding. We do forest bathing, is what you call it. We put our feet down on the ground for a couple minutes. We look at the sky.
Yeah. And then, so basically, yeah, you want to eat consistently throughout the day, nutrient dense foods, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And if you've condensed your meals, like if your days are busy and it can only be 2 meals, so be it. Hopefully you'll be healthy enough that you can get away with eating 2 meals a day. I know Jack Kruse is not a fan of snacking, but basically if you're eating 2 nutrient dense meals a day minimum, if not 3, I mean, face it, in the past, we used to eat 3 square meals a day, and we were pretty healthy when we ate 3 square meals a day. So that's a good model.
You guys were encouraged to go outside and play.
Right. When we were kids. So here we go back to our intergenerational chat here, Z.
Right.
So in my generation, mothers were not afraid to put their kids outside, even on a cold, rainy day.
Yeah.
We all were told it was healthy to go out and get fresh air and sunshine. And unfortunately, today, fresh air and sunshine has been largely demonized through many different clever and very nefarious marketing campaigns. Sadly, what Mother Nature has given us has been wrongly demonized, and that is really contributing to a lot of problems that are related to circadian disruption. So we have to reset that, and we have to reset that on our own. And to do that, you can't be passive. You have to be actively involved. And so your health isn't going to come to you on a silver platter. You have to actually apply yourself. And so for those who are willing to do that and commit their time to get healthy, we want to be here for you. We also want to emphasize it doesn't cost a lot of money. I'm going to have products that I might mention and promote on my website, but those are for people who may have the disposable income to buy those products. But if you are sick and at home on disability, I understand, because that's where I was for many, many years. So I know where you guys are at. You can't really afford to go see a practitioner. You can't necessarily afford supplements. But what we're going to do is we're going to tell you what you can do without a huge budget. One of my goals for many, many years is to let's fix this healthcare system, getting one person at a time feeling better with as little cost as possible. And I think that our healthcare system is basically imploding here. We live in Ontario, and our healthcare system is imploding. So we're basically on our own. But I think more and more people understand that they can't rely on their doctors or the healthcare system.
Because the doctors are themselves burnt out. The nurses are burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want to get health advice from someone that's clearly unhealthy?
That's right.
So
that's what happened to me when I was your age. When I was really, really sick, I went to see a quote unquote expert, an internist, I think, and she looked sicker than I did. And I thought to myself, well, how on earth is she going to help me get better?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I found out years later, after I had gone to see her, that she was sick, and she was trying to help people who had what I would have been labeled with, which was chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia. And today you would call it complex chronic illness. And so at any rate, as we chat more and more, I'll share more about what happened to me and what led to my health demise. But where Z is concerned, at her age, there was some pivotal factors that happened to you, right? for your health decline. Do you remember when you were young, when you felt energy or excited about getting up in the morning?
Yeah, I remember, you know what, I'll say that in the past 4 years, I know when I was very in my depression, I always used to say to myself, I used to be happier. I remember I used to be happier. And I couldn't remember how it felt like, but I did remember that memory. And I just remember I kept telling myself, and I know these past few months, I can say that, like, I don't have that thought anymore. I am more looking forward to getting better. I have that thought where it's like, oh my gosh, like, things can turn around. I'm looking forward to the future instead of I'm so focused on the past. So I look forward to see how our, circadian health
Reboot, yeah.
evolves and goes through. It's not a smooth journey; it's ups and downs. But
Right, and that's exactly it. It's not going to happen overnight. Like Z, you were really, really sick when I met you in June. I could tell right away, and now I know you have some bumpy days, but you're still 1,000 times better than you were in June.
I
Yeah.
actually I have been reaching out, been more social. It's one of the things I know about my depression is like when I'm not depressed, I'm more social, and it's really important actually to have contacts. And actually, a couple of my friends have mentioned that I do look healthier,
Yeah.
which is
It's nice.
yeah, it's nice. It's such a bigger compliment to me, and it means more because I've actually been working on it. In the past, I probably would have disregarded it, like, health, who cares? I've been so wrapped up in this productivity wheel of finish university, get a job, look for a man or woman for those people. I want to be inclusive, like kind of move on with my life, but I just couldn't move on with my life. I was stuck, and all of my friends were talking about the future, and I was stuck in this fog.
Yeah. It is. It's a fog.
And I'm really glad that when I was in the hospital to learn that so many people of different ages were dealing with what I was dealing, they still don't have an answer. But I'm happy to say that I found you, and I found this answer, which is so simple. It's
Well,
really
it
simple.
really is. It's very simple.
Yeah.
It does take work though, and a lot of people right now don't necessarily want to
Takes
apply themselves, right?
Well, it takes time. I think that was one of the things I liked about this idea of getting medicine from my doctor is like when you're so sick, this idea that this pill is such a false it's like a last resort. You're so sick, it's like take this pill, you're gonna feel so shitty for like 3 months, but you need to wait it out until it starts making you feel better. But this is better. This is more gradual. This is
Right.
taking steps up.
Right.
Well, on the other hand, it was like I was taking steps down.
Right. And that's the tragedy I mean, I don't know how many people percentage wise who are listening to this are taking any prescription drugs. Obviously, we can't tell you to stop taking your medications, but as you get healthier and healthier and healthier, you can work with your doctor to try and reduce, wean down, eventually just go off the medications entirely. It depends on what your goals are, and it depends on how cooperative your doctor is. If you're working with a doctor who is unwilling to take you off your medications, you just might need to find another doctor who's willing to work with you. But Z and I are not here to do that with you. If you're listening to this podcast and you stick with us, the chances are your goal is to stop taking medication so you can feel great naturally. And that's what Z's goal was. And she's a work in progress. She's, like I said, so much better than she was when I first met her in June. And she knows there's still more work to do. As I told her today, it's like a full-time job getting well. But what we're going to be talking about during this show are using tools that Mother Nature provides to us in order to get well. So this is just our first podcast as an introduction. We're going to do a couple of introductory podcasts and just post them so people can listen to them in segments so we don't overwhelm you. It does take work, and we're all willing to work together to help you.
Let's leave some wellness tips by Sergeant Pam.
Sergeant Pam. Oh, you're going to read my text to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. 1, always find things to look forward to. It's great.
Yeah.
Number 2, develop a consistent daily routine that's including waking up on time, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or brunch, and dinner sky gazing.
Sky gazing
Sky
is
gazing
another
is
one.
fun, and exercise, even a walk,
Walking.
a light walk
Mhm.
is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee enemas is
Coffee
a
enemas.
subject for another podcast.
It's another podcast. Yeah.
And then mindfulness exercises, meditation, tuning forks.
Tuning forks, yeah.
Yes. And yeah, like you say, getting well is an almost full-time job.
Yeah, but you have to pick and choose what you can do in a day and what you like and you don't like.
Exactly.
If I tell you to meditate and you don't like to meditate, then don't meditate. Find something else that helps you relax. So pick and choose what you can do among all of these principles, whether it's watching the sunrise in the morning, sky gazing during the day, doing some light exercise like walking, doing red light therapy, doing cold therapy, wearing your blue light blockers really is a game changer. So that is really, really critical. But we're going to be talking about a lot of these different approaches, and it's important to do them, but do them at your own comfort level. So to finish things off today, Zee and I would both like to thank you for giving us your valuable time. And we both look forward to speaking with you again soon in future podcasts.
Thank you for listening in. Bye.
Thank you for taking your valuable time to join us today. The information provided on my website, community forum, and podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. We are not licensed medical professionals, and the content shared here is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are seeking health advice or have specific medical concerns, we strongly encourage you to consult with a qualified medical doctor or healthcare provider. They are trained to evaluate your individual health needs and provide personalized recommendations tailored to your unique circumstances. By accessing and using my website, participating in my member forum, or listening to my podcast, you agree to acknowledge and abide by this disclaimer. We do not assume any responsibility or liability for actions taken based on the information provided herein.